country in the course of this week. We'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll go through the major issues as captured by the newspapers and online platforms. Of course, the Okada debates back on the front burner after it was discussed right here last week. We'll take a break. When I come back, I'll introduce the other issues for discussions, introduce my guest, and we'll delve into the issues. Welcome back to what the papers are saying on City TV. My name is Mensah Opoku. Once again, let's go through the major stories as captured by the major news portals this week. So we'll begin with citynewsroom.com, beginning with the matter of the depositors of defunct finance companies who've received their money. So City Newsroom capture said customers of defunct microfinance firms, others start receiving payments. Accounts of clients of defunct companies duly credited. That's according to the Consolidated Bank Ghana boss Daniel Adonoo. Citynewsroom.com, Savings and Loans Association welcomes release of funds to clients of defunct firms. To the Daily Graphic, government pays all depositors cash, no more bonds. Still regarding the matter of some 370 banks, 70 financial institutions, that savings and loans and other institutions who've had their customers settled. Government releasing some 3.56 billion Ghana cedis. To the Daily Statesman, 100% cash payment to depositors of collapsed entities starts. The Ghanaian Publisher, government releases 3.56 billion Ghana cedis to pay remaining customers of collapsed financial institutions in cash instead of bonds. And to the last newspaper on this issue, to the Business Analyst, says government pays depositors cash, withdraws zero bonds. Away from that, to the transport and Okada conversation, South City Newsroom captures it. Okada supports Ghana's economy. That's according to the campaign manager of the NDC 2020 campaign, Professor Joshua Alabi. Another story on citynewsroom.com capturing the same matter, this time around from a member of parliament for North Tongue, Sammi Ablakwa. NDC has blueprint to make operations safer. We have a safer alternative for Okada operators. That's from the National Communications Director of the NPP and Member of Parliament for Adentan, Yabuabing Asamoah. To the Daily Graphic, Okada debate, government to provide vehicle owning option. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. ABC News, NPP government will not legalize Okada business. That's according to Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia again. NPP government will provide Okada riders decent jobs, concern voter movement. To the National Enquirer, Mahama Jab's critics, Okada has come to stay. Stop criticizing and acting like ostriches. The Ghanaian Publisher, Ayariga mocks Okada promise. How can legalizing Okada be a campaign promise in the 21st century? To the New Publisher, 14 killed, over 50 others injured in bloody crash. To the Daily Guide, flour truck crashes 2 buses, 14 perish. And the last matter we'll be discussing has got to do with the Public Universities Bill, which has generated a lot of discussion among the academic community. City Newsroom captures it. Withdraw harmful Public University Bill now. UG chapter of UTAG. And the Inquisitor, Public University Bill discourses. UTAG flays UTAG UG over mischievous agenda. The The show is live and interactive. You can join us via the WhatsApp line 055-058-5832, as well as the other social media platforms that will be put on your screen. Joining me to do the discussions, I have with me Selorm Adonoo, head of features and articles right here, City FM and City TV. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Duke.
Next to Selorm Adonoo is Sammi Wiafe. Sammi Wiafe is presidential correspondent for City FM and City TV. Welcome, Sammi.
Good evening, Duke.
So let's begin with the issue regarding the legalization or regularization of the activities of commercial motorcycle operators, popularly known as Okada. Now, we discussed it last week here, following the launch of the NDC manifesto. Obviously had been something that had been discussed because it was one of the issues brought up from the tour, the tour of the NDC flag bearer before the manifesto was officially launched. This week, the matter that has sustained the conversation has got to do with what the Vice President said on Wednesday at a ceremony involving a partnership between Black Ivy and the Volkswagen company. So let me begin with you, Sammi, on this issue, on this Okada debate, on this matter.
Well, Duke,
since the last time we had the discussion, the story has developed in so many ways, in so many from so many different angles. Others making arguments of all sorts and of all kinds from the academic community, safety, and all of that. What's your own take? What do you stand on this matter?
Well, Duke, good evening, and then good evening to our viewers. I've listened to the debates on both sides. You know, I've listened to the politicians, especially those pushing for it to be legalized, especially those in the NDC. I've also heard those in academia who are also making a case why it should not be legalized. I've heard those in charge, the authority, I mean the National Road Safety Commission, who have also said that indeed legalizing it won't be in the best interest of the country. And I've also listened to the Vice President make a case yet that indeed the government has no intention of legalizing the purchase of Okada, but then there are other alternatives that the government is looking at for these people who ride Okada, the Okada riders. I feel that this debate has become, you know, topical because it's something which is booming. The Okada business is booming one way or the other. I'm sure every corner that you pass, you will see these Okada riders. They're willing to offer their services at a fee. But for me, I feel as a country, we should not make the attempt of legalizing this particular activity. You know, the countries that we are learning from, typically Nigeria, where this whole Okada business started, even some states are banning the purchase of Okada. In Abuja, the commercial capital, you don't see Okada there. You see them in satellite communities and places which are very far from the capital Abuja proper. In Lagos, which is considered to be the commercial capital of Nigeria, some 20 states, 20 towns, I mean, have banned Okada operations
local government areas
in local government areas in Nigeria. I could give an example like Ikeja, Lagos Inland, and then Lagos Mainland, where you don't have to, there's no way you can bring Okada to this particular periphery. So even the countries that we are copying this whole Okada thing are banning its operations. Why do we also want to legalize it here and, as they say, they want to regulate it? I feel it's a non-starter. If it's about jobs, there should be alternative way of finding jobs for these people. Just this evening on CNR, we saw a young man who through this Okada has been able to put up a structure. But how many are they? How many of them are able to put up structures, you know, through this Okada business? So I feel is something we should not legalize. And as the Vice President said, and other people in academia have said, it's a risky adventure. I've a friend nurse at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the Accident and Emergency Center, and she tells me that on daily basis, the number of people who come there related to Okada accidents are uncountable. And when you enter these places, you see their legs hanging, you know, they are in pain and they are screaming. My senior brother has a friend who is a banker, you know, and he was involved in this same Okada accident. And as we speak now, he tells me that in the next 2 weeks, his left leg is going to be cut off because he was involved in a serious accident. He was going for a meeting. He parked his car because of traffic, and he jumped on Okada. Less than 50 meters, my brother tells me that he was involved in an accident, and his left leg was severely damaged. So the doctors have advised him that the best option for him is to cut this leg off. I understand this gentleman has been crying every night, asking himself what even pushed him to go and sit on the back of a motorbike just because you want to dodge traffic or you're in a hurry. So for this particular example and other examples that have come, I feel as a country we should have a national conversation on this matter and feel that, you know, it's not a way to go.
Others have, not to break your flow of thoughts, but others have pointed to the models that operate in East Africa, Rwanda,
in Kigali, for example. Yes, I've been to Kigali and I know how they operate.
Yeah. So is that not something that is worth, you know, since you are not in favor of what happens in Nigeria, even despite how it's even regulated, how about how it's done in places like Rwanda?
In Rwanda, for instance, the Rwanda model, as we all know in Africa, Rwanda model is different from other countries. We have a leader in Rwanda who, when he says this, is this. In our state, is different. How many laws in Ghana work? In a country that we find ourselves, we pass several laws. How many of these laws work? And how are we going to add the legalization of Okada to the number of laws that we have, which already do not work? In Kigali, it's a different situation. I've been to Kigali before. They give them uniform. Every town and the color of uniform or an identity that you wear. So if you're in Kigali, you wear a vest, which is red. If you're in other parts of the country, you have a different color you wear. And there, when the traffic is red, you stop. When it is green, you move. In our state here, in our country here, the traffic light is red. You are parked. But before you see, some Okada guys pop, and off they go. They do not respect the traffic regulations. Even it is illegal. They don't respect it. Even though it's illegal, they don't respect it. How can we regularize it? In Ghana, laws do not work in Ghana. So
enforcement is a problem.
Enforcement is a problem.
Okay.
And we are even told that these Okada riders, their masters are the policemen and women. They buy these bikes for them to use them for these commercial purposes. Now, the people who are supposed to enforce the laws are rather engaged in it. How do we regularize it? I thought it's a non-starter. We shouldn't do this. The countries that have done it are even banning it. And we now want to do it here in Ghana. A typical example, when you go to the northern part of the country, I've been to Tamale several times. They respect the traffic regulations. Go to Tamale, only part of the north. When the traffic is red, they stop. When it's green, they all move. In Accra here, just this morning, an accident nearly happened on my way coming because it was red. And when it was green for us to go, Okada guy from nowhere decided to just jump in front of a trotro driver. He applied his brake, and the car behind him hit the trotro driver. And by that time, the Okada guy is gone. After causing the accident, he's gone. So we can't bring this thing here. I am against it. We should find alternative for these young men and women who we feel that if we ban this whole thing, they are not going to find jobs. That is why government exists. Be creative, think outside the box, bring something new, so the people who are engaged in this will put it aside and find better jobs to do.
Okay, so you raised the issue of enforcement and then safety, the risk involved. And I'll bring in Selorm here. Popular dictum that in Ghana, the law is enactment, but elsewhere the law essentially is about its enforcement. The issue of enforcement, the issue of risk, and how difficult it may be to implement it when it's even regularized or legalized. What's your own take on this matter? Of course, drawing on the insights from last week and how the story has developed over the period. Selorm.
Thanks, Duke. Yes, I followed the discussion quite a bit, but initially when when I heard it, I had an awkward feeling that why this, but of course I've had discussion with the news guys, some of whom have been or are users of Okada, etc. So after speaking to them, my stance on it was a bit diluted. Why so? Because I was looking at it as a problem from a certain angle. The Okada discussion is not a binary one. I think it should be a bit more nuanced than we are having it, because it's multifaceted. There's a socio-economic part of it, there's a transportation part of it, there is even an infrastructure part of it, there's a health and safety part of it. So you need to look at all these to be able to have a proper discussion. My view generally is that we are here because of our inaction, the failure of successive governments in the past to do what is right, to solve the problems. And what are the problems? The problems of jobs, the problems of proper transportation systems, a good public transport system, maybe buses, trains, trams, other things that will help mobility. So, for example, we have a lot of these young guys doing the Okada. I'm not sure ordinarily they would want to do a job like that because of the risk factors. Of course, when you talk to some of them, they will tell you it is not as risky as people think because they do it for a long time and so they are used to it. Indeed, yesterday on my way home, I stopped at my junction. There were a number of those guys there. I engaged them in a conversation after hearing the Vice President's proposition on the matter. And I told them it's dangerous. They said, no, it's not dangerous. Indeed, one of them told me that he travels from Accra to Hohoe and is able to come back the same day with Okada. So he feels even more comfortable and safer on his riding Okada himself or riding himself wherever than sitting in somebody's car and putting his life in somebody's hands. So that's the kind of thinking there, but that's maybe my point. So my point is that we need to deal with it from the economic point of view. So if you say that you won't legalize it, what happens to those people? Do we have jobs readily available for them? That's one. Number two, the discussion about Okada is not only limited to the economics. It is, the economics as in people getting jobs, etc. It has also something to do with transportation and access. Anytime I travel in the morning from the Adenta area into town and I get to the University of Ghana, Oponglo area, thanks to COVID, the traffic is not as heavy as it used to be. There are times I've spent over 2 hours just in that traffic trying to get to town. What I've seen is that there are a number of Okada riders who just, park around, and if you want to get to town quickly, you join them, you pay a fee, and they take you. So they're able to get to town faster. That's why I'm saying that the problem today is as a result of the inaction of successive governments in the past. We've not developed a proper transportation system, no trains, no serious public transportation as in buses. We don't have that. So everybody in the morning
is that not a short-term solution to legalize or regularize it without taking into consideration all the other factors?
Yeah, so I'm just building a point. So we've dealt with the economics. We don't have the solution to the economics now. Thousands of young people are engaged in that. If you tell them to stop today, what is the immediate solution? I don't have the answer to that, and I've not heard any serious answer to that. Number two, the issue about access and transportation. I don't know what the solution to that will be. It means that there'll be more cars on the street, on the road. People will have to wake up earlier. People wake up 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock just to get to town at 8, so they are not late for work. I don't have the solution to that, and I've not heard any serious solution in respect of that. Number three, it's also the issue about, safety. That's a good issue. Indeed, there was a research document I was reading from one Luther V, a document titled Prevalence of Motorcycle Accidents and Associated Factors in Accra, authored in 2000 or published in 2019. What this researcher did was to look at the Adenta, Medina, Legon areas, the Okada riders, motorcycle commercial users there, and did some work on them. And he also looked at the various hospitals in those areas. And his conclusion was that, out of the total number of accidents occurring in that area, 37% of them are attributed to the Okada users, which is quite a huge number. That is a genuine concern. So the point is, what do we mean by regularization? Not regularize, to regulate. To regularize is different from to regulate. What do we mean by regulation? What does regulation mean? I think that is where the issue really should be.
So currently there are regulations in place from 2012,
yes,
which actually bans it, but nobody is enforcing it. So it continues to be.
Yes,
it's existing as if as if nothing is happening.
That's even the problem. So right now that we are saying that it is that in fact by law it is illegal, it means that they are not even supposed to be on the road. What is the level of enforcement? Are we going to continue to play ostriches and say that this is banned, but we know even police officers who want to get to their destinations faster join Okada? I've seen lawyers who have joined Okada. I've seen a lot of people who have parked their cars and joined Okada. I am not necessarily in support of the Okada thing, but as I sit, I ask myself, if I oppose it, what is my solution? And if I'm for it, what do I bring to the table? So I'm still having that conversation or discussion in my mind, just that, and trying to bring out the issues. The Vice President's proposition that he will encourage them to acquire vehicles through a leasing scheme, etc. Brilliant. But it appears to me that perhaps he doesn't understand the issue properly. The solution really is not just the economics one. I've talked about the transportation bit. So if all these people using Okadas even are giving the cars free of charge, it doesn't solve the issue of traffic and the fact that the issue about people wanting to get to work on time. It doesn't solve that. What that would do would be to increase the number of cars even on the road. It doesn't solve the traffic matter. You understand? It may help. So, and then the issue about access as well. There are certain parts of this country that are not motorable. In fact, cars do not even go there. It is not even commercially viable for taxis to stand at the junction and want to take somebody in there because it takes a while for people to go there. But people go there anyway. So what these Okada people do is they stand at those junctions. If one person comes, no matter the time, they take the person there, they make their money. You understand? So people owning these cars does not solve this problem. You know, Accra, now Greater Accra, not in the sense of the region, but in the sense of, you know, how Accra is expanding. There are many parts of Accra today, call them Greater Accra areas, which have bad roads. People are going to those places. I mean, economic activity is increasing, population is growing in those areas, but they do not have the necessary amenities to go with the development. So those people are the people who depend on these oftentimes. So again, the question must be what goes into the regulation. Could it be that the regulation may be that, let's say, Okada riders do not get into the CBD, don't get into the Central Business District. You don't have to go into those areas. Okada riders, for example, if you don't have a helmet, you have no business carrying any other passenger. Okada riders, if you don't have an insurance covering your passenger, you have no business carrying a passenger. You know, we need to understand really what the regulation will be. But to say that we shouldn't do it without suggesting a viable solution, I think will land us in the same problem. Because as we have it right now, the law in 2012 passed, like the professor said, lacked research. The people are doing it. And you see, it's like one of those things, like the law on the mask wearing. There's a law, but people don't wear the mask because the penalty for that is poor. You arrest somebody for not wearing mask, and the person goes to jail about 4 to 6 years. It doesn't make sense. So in that case, though the law is there, enforcement of it's nil. So I think we need to have a proper conversation about this
but
and look at the nuances properly.
Yeah.
And have a proper solution to it. It's unfortunate it's gotten into the political field, and so now people are for and against it. But in fact, the MPP themselves, when this matter first came up, I remember I was on Eyewitness that day, and is this Sammi Opoku, the chairman of the Transport Committee? He was saying that the NDC were trying to get ahead of the MPP because they know that they were in consultation with the Okada people and other people. And recently, a few days ago, Ministry of Information also published a document which detailed the number of consultations they've had with people, and also telling us that consultations will resume in October. It stalled because of COVID. So now that we hear that it is not going to happen, what happens to that consultation we were told will resume? So it's a serious matter, but it's unfortunate because it has gotten into the political fray. Now you're either for it or against it. But in my view, that is not how to solve a national problem like the Okada one.
Well, we'll take a break here. When I come back, we would wrap up the issue and, of course, listen. Of course, we would hear from you as well what your views and thoughts are regarding this debate on whether to legalize and regularize the use of commercial motorcycles, popularly known as Okada. Stay with us.
Don't just watch, be wowed. Get fired up. Get down. Catch feels. Drop the mic. Choose to be moved. On the move. Hot spot, any spot. Enjoy a new view. Walking on other shoes. Power heels. Paws. And feet. Take your stories to the streets. Hold court with court queens. Ice queens and Yas queens. Fly away. Come back home. And enjoy online entertainment on any screen. Sign up at showmax.com and change the way you watch.
Election 2020, Ghana makes a choice. Tracking and bringing reports of the presidential and parliamentary campaigns across the length and breadth of this nation.
Analyzing campaign activities and election data with our panelists on the Voters' Diary.
The Voters' Diary is the most factual, instructive, and balanced election 2020 analysis program on television.
The Voters' Diary every weekday on City TV from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Stay informed on all the relevant issues on election 2020.
Tune into the Voters' Diary. It's Ghana's choice. You're welcome back to what the papers are saying right here on City TV. Of course, your views and thoughts are welcome. Before we went to the break, we heard from Selorm, his views on this matter regarding whether Okada should be legalized or regularized. I'll bring in Sammi for his closing thoughts on this in a minute, but let me read some of the views that you've shared, thoughts you've shared with us regarding the submissions that you've heard here today on the program. This one from Amwa Philip from Techiman says, if we are to talk about legalizing something in the 21st century Ghana, should it be Okada? It is a disgrace for this country. Should we legalize whatever will give the youth jobs? I think we have a lot of illegal things to legalize then. That's from Amwa Philip from Techiman. Olu Inyendi says, I'm of the view that the intensity of motor accidents is greater than lorries. In view of that, I second Okada not being legalized to save lives in the Ghanaian community. So both of them making the argument of safety and, of course, the risk factors involved in it. Sammi?
Well, I think my position stands that indeed there's a risky venture. We should, as your texter said, we should think of other important national issues than have a conversation on the legalization of Okada business in the country. You know, Selorm made a point that in some parts of this country, before you can even get access to these places, you need, you know, motorbikes and the rest. I agree that we need them. But then, if we have a system where these Okada guys will operate within that enclave, within that periphery, fair enough, but not in the capital where we see the nuisance that they are causing.
So that is a form of regulation.
Let me make my point. And then, if we have them in the capital, as we see now, and the nuisance they are causing, then we should have a rethink about it. Not because you are seeking their votes, or you want them to vote for you in an election, so you want to legalize it. Obviously, the Okada people are happy with this pronouncement. We see now and then that they are holding press conferences and jubilating and in support of all this, because it's a political statement, and they believe that if the person making this promise is given opportunity to be president, he's going to do as they want. They obviously support it. But aside politics, let's also think about safety and the rest. I am against it. We should think outside the box, Let's bring different policies to see how we can address this problem. And as your tester said, if we want to create jobs for everybody, then we might end legalizing almost everything, including armed robbery in this country, because it will be job for some people. We should have a second thought about this. Not because of political advantage or political venture, you make any promise just to get the votes of people.
Selorm, you have
yes.
the last one on this.
Yes, again, I don't think it's a binary situation. I mean, the discussion is more nuanced than just yes or no. Yeah. Again, we are here because successive governments and collectively we have failed to make the hard decisions to move us to where we have to be. So, for example, we don't have a proper public transportation system. Infrastructure is, I mean, just building roads is not enough. And a whole lot. It is an economic issue, but it is not just an economic issue. We need to look at it holistically. And I'm saying once again that what we need to do is to look at what the details of what the various policy propositions are. One person says, I will regulate it, I will legalize and regulate it. What does regulation mean? That should be the question. And when we push them, you know, we should push them till they give us answers that will make us know whether it's something they've just said or it's something they've thoroughly thought about. One person says, I will introduce a system to lease cars to people. How does the Okada people owning cars solve the other issues? Is it that when they own cars, automatically areas which are unmotorable, areas which are inaccessible will automatically become accessible? What happens to the urban sprawl? What happens to the growth of Accra around its beams, Dawenya, Oyibi, Oyarefa, and all those hinterlands where, you know, the roads are bad, cars are not able to go there. And it's not everybody that lives in those areas that has a car. We need to think around those things properly. And again, we need to create, we don't need to create a situation that will further, in quote, corrupt the police. As it stands now, it is illegal. But don't we see them doing it? And of course, the argument is made that they jump the traffic lights because they are afraid police will arrest them. I don't buy the argument. Thankfully, we have a situation where most intersections are now seeing security cameras, etc. Can we have a way of fusing that with the regulation of it so that if they jump the traffic lights, we get them and punish them? You know, we should think around it properly. But to say yes or no without supporting it, you know, properly with the current situation and the problems we have in our system, I don't think it will be fair to the issue. Okay,
so that's what my panelists think, Sammi and Selorm, media views. No, of course, one is advocating for looking at it from a nuanced, you know, perspective. Sammi is outrightly against this legalization or regularization, if you want.
And you see, there's a talk about thinking outside the box. We've been thinking outside the box for a long time. The more we wait to think outside the box, the more it festers. You know, Okada, when did it start? The first time I heard Okada was in a Nigerian movie. And I heard it's in Togo. Now here we are being swarmed by the situation. We didn't solve it then.
If our previous leaders have been able to...
That's what I'm saying, that it is the failure of successive governments, the failure of successive governments to do what is important. We can be having a
conversation on other national issues.
Very well.
We are not having a conversation on Okada.
So what were the key issues we are supposed to...
have done something about it, we will not have the situation that we have now.
That is the same thing I'm saying now. It's the same thing I'm talking about now, really.
Well, I think we should see that. Let's move on to the next issue, I think, which has got to do, of course, with the payment of some 3.5 or the release of 3.56 billion Ghana cedis to by the receiver to the Consolidated Bank of Ghana to pay the customers who've had their locked up cash, the microfinance institutions, MFIs, and the 23 savings and loans institutions whose licenses were revoked as part of the financial sector cleanup. Sammi?
Well, to these customers, I think it has come as good news for them because, was it today or yesterday, I heard a lady who went to the bank and she received her money. She was all over the place, excited about it because when this whole crisis started, a lot of people were affected. You know, we saw on the TV, we heard on the radio and read the newspapers how some people said their their school fees, the money they were using for their businesses were all locked up in these particular financial institutions. And so the government should just do something about it. Well, it started with the banks where we're told that there are some 16 billion cedis injected into it to save the funds of depositors. And then the microfinance and the rest also came in. So the announcement of this 3.65 billion to pay this depositor came really as good news. But then the others also spoke about the timing of this payment. Is it that because it's an election year, that's why the payment is being done, or there was no money and they had to go and look for money to make these payments? Because when this whole thing started, there were suggestions, including from economist Kwame Penny, that even if the government does not have money, they should print, money to pay these depositors. So it's in three folds. Either the government wants to bring back confidence into the banking system. Number two, if it's politics,
liquidity,
and then liquidity and the rest. So looking at the political side, the president during the start of the Bono regime made an emphatic statement that by the close of this month, customers of DKM and the rest will have all their monies paid to them, 100% payment to them. And these announcements by the receiver that they're also going to pay these people all their money in full. It's good news. If your money is there, it will be good news for you. But then the question has always been, where did the money come from? Has the money been there all this while and waited till this time before the payment was done? Or because a particular political party, the NDC flag bearer John Mahama, had made an emphatic statement that when he's given an opportunity, or if he wins the election, he's going to pay this money to all this depositors. That's why the government, in a way to show good faith, look for money wherever they got it to pay these people who had their monies or funds locked up. Any which way we go, we do not know the rationale behind or the decision taken by government in this payment. But in any good way, it's good news if your money is there and you have your money back. Because Duke, the saddest thing is to lose your money. I've lost money before, so I know how it feels. When you know that
in any of the across the either in the banks or the MFIs or it's not related to the financial sector crisis.
In somewhere else, that discussion will be done later. Thousands of cities, and sometimes you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, it's me again by Biumana. I know that feeling. I know how it is. So for you to hear that the government is paying you back for these amount of money that you lost somewhere, it's good news. It's good news, okay. and I'm all for it.
All right, Selorm, I'll come to you on this one.
Yes, I mean, surely it's
6 billion.
Yes, it's great that government has decided to pay the monies now. I think it does a number of things. It restores confidence of people in the financial system. So the banks and the savings and loan system, people's confidence in those institutions will be high. Imagine somebody had a lot of money in one of those banks and the person was not being paid, or the person was given a commercial paper to be redeemed or paid in 5 years' time at no interest, at zero interest. Such a person starts making money today. That person will not be happy or very likely to go back to the same financial system. So that confidence sapping, angle also exists. So I'm happy that government has found money to pay the people. So it does a number of things. One, it makes people liquid. The money comes into the system, because there were situations where people had money, but they were hungry. They didn't have money to go to hospital. They couldn't do things. But you have money to your name, only that the money was not available to you. I think it was a very sad situation we got ourselves into, as a result of the crisis that hit the financial sector. So it's a good thing that government is paying the people, and so far we've heard a number of people are getting their money. Number two, it also helps relieve people of mental health issues. Imagine you have a lot of money somewhere and now you can't even do anything because you don't have money. People have needs, and so you only be paid after 5 years if your money was beyond a certain threshold. I mean, the mental health torture alone was not correct. It wasn't healthy.
70,000.
You know, so it is great that government is finding money to pay. I think it will oil the economy. It will help the economy do better, etc. But the other issue really has to do with the staff of those banking institutions or financial institutions which haven't been paid. We only hope that in due course they will also be paid, because we know people who went to work one day and came back, and both wife and husband lost their jobs. They work in various financial institutions. Maybe this works for Bank A, the other for Bank B. The two banks were part of the institutions that, you know, got collapsed or whose licenses were revoked. The two of them come home, and all of a sudden they are unemployed, but they have things to do. They have obligations to meet. So I think once this has started moving, you know, the part about the staff being paid should also come quickly, because quite a number of them had loans they were paying. And I mean, there are issues. Some of them have had to, change their lifestyles and a whole lot of things. So I think it's good that we started from some point, but let's complete the cycle. That's just my view on this.
Yeah, something you agree to. Okay, let's take some messages before we move on to the final issue for discussion. This one from Nana and Madina says, good evening. I believe those sending the messages are not Okada riders, and so obviously they're not being in support of it. The incumbent or government should create jobs then, because we are really suffering. I believe it's not a big deal legalizing it because it's a source of income for some families. Then again, the economic argument. Sisi from Mankesim sends quite a long-winding one. Says, ask Sammi if Rwanda has a model that is better. Can't Ghana have a superior model? Again, if Okada riders in Tamale obey regulations and Okada riders in Accra do not obey traffic regulation, is that a complete justification not to legalize the activity? In any case, the activity is widespread, despite the law frowning upon it. Why is government not enforcing the laws and getting rid of them? Is Sammi talking about the lack of enforcement, but forgetting that the very person to ensure enforcement is the person telling us it's risky and yet not doing anything about it? Why is government not talking about enforcing the laws? Well, the same issue of enforcement, which has really which came up during the discussion. That's Sisi from Mankesim. Richard from Esuchari in the Greater Accra region says, with what we have been witnessing here, I strongly disagree with the legalization of Okada business, because people die day in, day out. The Okada guys don't recognize human beings when they are on their bikes, even when it's not legalized. So what will happen if it is legalized? I think the NDC just wants some concentration from the people also to win votes. A mixed call from Jessica says, can Sammi suggest any better alternative? It's great. Well, that's a mixed call from Jessica. We'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll look at the last issue, the vexed matter of the Public Universities Bill, the bill that many academics are against, but it looks like there's a divided front at the level of the University Teachers Association of Ghana. We'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll look at that matter. Stay with us.
City TV is live. On DSTV, go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. City TV, it's your world.
A message from Zuri in Westlands. Now, she says, my mom remarried when I was 8 years. She was always busy, never had time for me. And so I was happy when my stepdad started showing me some love and affection. Things were great till I became a teenager. He started acting funny towards me, like touching my boobs and other things. And when I told my mom about it, she told me that he's my dad and there's nothing wrong with it. He eventually defiled me at the age of 14. When I told my mom, she convinced me not to tell anyone, so I kept it to myself. It has really had an impact on me, and I'm still scared of dating anyone. I want to forgive my mom and move on, but it hurts a lot anytime I remember. Please help me.
How can a mother even still stay married to a person that does that?
Even as a biological father, it is so wrong to have a father touch the breast of the daughter.
I'm going to use this platform, okay, to reach out to parents and let parents know that when your daughters are talking to you, pay attention.
Sister Sisters, proudly brought to you by Vodafone Ghana. The future is exciting. Ready?
Welcome back to what the papers are saying. We'll move on to our last issue now, which has got to do with the Public Universities Bill, a bill that is currently still before the Education Committee of Parliament at the consideration stage, still not being brought back for debate and considered clause by clause before it is actually, passed into law by the Parliament of Ghana because of the serious, disagreements within the academic community over what this bill portends. The main arguments against this has been the fact that the academic community, a part of it, believe that it's going to take away the revered academic freedom, which is an essential part of research and teaching function of the academic discourse community. This week again, the University of Ghana, UTAG, held a press briefing and made known the arguments. It's unconstitutional and all the arguments that they made against that. But then the UTAG the mother body of the UTAG, also indicated that that is the sole decision of the University of Ghana, UTAG, and they do not support that. The Public Universities Bill is back in the news again. Selorm, what is the cause for it to be withdrawn, creating a certain confusion among the academic discourse community? Should if government obviously should be interested in this matter, because sooner or later it may become a matter of political contention, as if already has not turned into one.
Yes, it's an important thing. The university community, or the intelligentsia, or the academic community, has been very important in shaping our fourth Republican constitutional journey. That is a place of higher learning, a place of research, etc. So I think if something concerns them and they are voicing concerns about it, I'm not saying that when they voice concerns, government or whoever the target is should hood, line, and sinker swallow it. But I think, as it is in many instances, there should be consultation, more consultation. And the consultation should not be done with a closed mind or with a narrow objective or with a predetermined objective. Oftentimes, we start consultations with entrenched positions. Let's look at the issues they are raising, because if the law is made, it is to improve their output and help the government of the day also govern properly. So if one side of it is raising serious concerns, some concerns being even constitutional, I think it's only fair that both sides sit around the table and look at the issues properly. What are some of these issues? So, for example, the bill kind of takes a certain autonomy, it's alleged, from the university. So, for example, the University Council will now have more people appointed by the executive on it than it currently is. So what that means is that if government has a certain objective and wants to do it, it will have its way. And you see, the concern really is that we've allowed government into too many things, and the results haven't really been good. So we may get into situations where, in its worst form, departmental heads and very, small positions even in the university could be dictated by the executive. We don't want to get there. The appointment of chairman of the council and about 5 other appointees will have to come from the executive arm, 3 other reps under the supervision from institutions, under the supervision of the education ministry, etc. In the university community, we have the lecturers or the faculty and the students. Faculty somewhat is represented, but in this new bill, the students are not represented on the council. Look at the KNUST incident which happened in, was it 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
2019?
Yeah, 2018.
The role of the SRC president was so critical. Yeah. He was on the university council, and I'm sure because he was on the council, they were able to deliberate properly. They understood a few things, and that situation was brought under control. Of course, I've also heard discussions or arguments that in the case of the KNUST, government had egg on its face because when it tried dissolving the council, it later came back because they did not have the legal mandate or the power to dissolve it because government just could not do it by law. And others have said that is the situation government is trying to correct. But if you're trying to correct a situation, sit down with the people properly and engage. Because today, the people are talking about academic freedom. You may be in government today, but you won't be in government forever. And in doing it, will it benefit you in government? And when you are in opposition to, will you have some benefit from the same system? Because the academia is so important. Body like the Academy of Arts and Sciences, they hardly speak on such matters. For them to come out and oppose it with reasons, I think that it's only fair that government sits down and then takes a second look at this particular thing. Talking about the UTAG National and then UTAG Eugene, that is how it happens. When things happen, once your front is broken, then the other side gets a better part of you. I hear some engagement happened, but how encompassing or broad-based was that engagement? Indeed, people have said that they just picked a few people from the university community, went to sit somewhere and agreed on something, or maybe they didn't even understand the full import of what was being done. And then all of a sudden said, okay, we've had consultation with the university communities. These were the people present. I don't think that is how we have to look at our institutions of higher learning. Let's engage them properly. There are people who understand things. Let's engage them properly and ensure that we have a law that gives both sides a win-win situation. That is the only way I think we can scale this.
Sorry. The controversy is not any time soon. There's a bill that has seen a lot of controversies, since Parliament decided to pass this. It was this same bill that brought about a near impeachment process being launched against the UTAG president by University of Ghana UTAG community, where they said that the UTAG president, I think Professor Charles something, I forgot the name, had gone against the dictates of the national body of UTAG, and so they were starting impeachment processes against him. It became a whole topical issue, and I don't know what happened to it. I think it was withdrawn. Now this same University of Ghana UTAG has gone out to hold a press conference stating its position on this matter. What I feel or what I wish government would do is that sits those raising issues or concerns about this bill down, listen to these concerns that they are making, reach an agreement, whether to factor in what they are saying, and then explain to them why you believe that there's no need to bring these factors or this consideration they are bringing into the bill. So at least we can have level playing field and peace on this matter, because for us to have our professors and our doctors argue publicly on radio and speak against each other is not the best. Honestly, it's not the best. To have your lecturers who are supposed to be role models, who are people we are supposed to learn from, having arguments on a bill on radio and TV, and looking as if the font is broken when it comes to this whole public university bill. I feel it's not the best. As they always say, join is the best way to address an issue, not sit on radio, argue for and against. I feel the Ministry of Education, which is spearheading the passage of this particular bill, should call all the parties involved those in academia, those who are not in academia, those who have interest in this whole thing, to sit on the table. You know, let's have proper discussion. Let's bring in this, or let's bring out this, so at least we can have a peace of mind in dealing with this situation. Because academia is very important. You know, when this whole COVID came, I remember the president reached out to the Ghana Academy of Arts and Science, asking them for their support, and if the possibility of finding a local vaccine, you know, to deal with this situation. So it's an important institution which we should not treat with the contempt it deserves.
Okay, so that's Sammi Wiafe's presidential correspondent, and you heard earlier Selorm Adonoo, head of features and articles here at City FM and TV. Of course, you also contributed your thoughts and views on the program. What the papers are saying, we'll be back same time next week and on your screens, and keep watching City TV. My name is Mensah Opoku.